are you? What's your name?
Something happened to me, and I need to know what it was. And then we'll be free of this.
You really don't remember anything?
No.
I'll be whoever you need me to be, sir.
Will you commit to this program?
Yes, sir.
You volunteered to become Jason Bourne.
From September 29,
I volunteered because of a lie.
Foxtel Movies presents
Bourne knows everything.
I hear you're still looking for me.
the whole story from the beginning.
Jason Bourne is armed and extremely dangerous.
You're never gonna find any peace. Not until you admit to yourself who you really are.
Remember everything.
A special pop-up event.
I swear to God, there is no measure to how fast and how hard I will bring this fight to your doorstep.
4 days of non-stop action.
Why me? Why did you pick me?
The complete Bourne collection.
Find Jason Bourne.
On a dedicated pop-up movie channel.
This is Jason Bourne. I need to talk.
Making his first mistake.
They don't make mistakes.
That's him. Hold on!
You think that Jason Bourne was the whole story? Sorry, there's a lot more going on here.
What are you gonna do?
I'll end it.
Experience the Bourne collection. Starts September 29 on Channel 400. Included as part of the Movies Pack.
Tell me about Treadstone.
Treadstone? What is that?
The ultimate weapon. They don't even know they've got these skills.
They have a cadre of sleeper agents deployed under normal cover lives with no memory of their training.
These people are still out there, asleep. And someone's waking them up. Please don't make me do this.
He woke you.
I was confused at first. I finally know who I am.
It's a jacked up radio show. It's a jacked up radio show. Jacked up radio show. It's a jacked up radio show. It's a jacked up radio show. Jacked up radio show.
Welcome once again, ladies and gents. We're going into another chaotic yet very addicting spy movie franchise and kind of a partial TV franchise as well. And is Robert Ludlum's Jason Bourne experiment. And welcoming to the show is guest Corby Stephens. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Anytime. So let's back it up a bit. So what was your introduction to just espionage and just action adventure movies?
Oh gosh. Specifically action adventure movies would probably be the Indiana Jones franchise. I'm just old enough to remember seeing the original Star Wars as my first actual movie experience, but specifically action adventure stuff would be probably Indy.
That's wild that you mentioned that, because yeah, there is a connection here. I do recall in a recent interview, George Lucas and Spielberg, when they were asked about just what movies that they were just blown away by that just had great character development and excellent stunts, they both mentioned the Die Hard movies and Jason Bourne franchise. And to make an even bigger connection, Frank Marshall and Kathleen Kennedy, Spielberg's right hands, were producers on this for Universal. So
yeah, for sure, that's quality stuff. I think after that would be. I saw way too many movies as a child that no child should probably have ever seen, but it was the '80s and it was a different time. Bond fans will be disappointed, but my first exposure was the Roger Moore Bond movies, and that was the spy stuff specifically. That was my first time for that, and found that to be very fun.
I can understand. I mean, those definitely played on TV more often than not for whatever reason.
Yeah. cable airing and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
I think The Spy Who Loved Me and Dr. No were the first ones I saw all the way through. But yeah, like you say, I mean, more or less, it seemed like just I think everyone just kind of had a fantasy. It was like, it's fun to be a spy or an assassin.
Yeah. Yep.
International globe.
Yep. Well, you've got the hit song Secret Agent Man, which is still a great song, I think. Yeah. Just great lyrics, tells the story and great music. And yeah, it's
Tom
everywhere.
Jones, right? Or
I don't think it's Tom Jones, but it's very Tom Jones-esque.
Because someone else I think covered it for like Austin Powers, I think.
Yeah, Tom Jones did a Thunderball for the Bond series.
Oh yes, he did. Close enough. Oh man. So what is it about spies that appeal to people? Because like I've talked with other pals the other day about Spooks and Tom Clancy. Is it just the secretness of it, or the fact that it could exist, but we don't really know the full side of it? What is it?
Man, that's a great question. I think as a person watching them, I like to, I like most people probably assume the role of the character and like, what would it be like to have this, to be unknown completely, like to not be known by anybody, and to have all these either weapons or skills or, and wanting to give all for, king and country, so to speak. But just and then the idea, is this real? Like, are these stories based on MI6 and the CIA and these clandestine organizations? Is our government really doing this stuff? And of course, someone hearing this is probably going, "Duh, of course they are."
Right, but at the time, it was like the internet wasn't what it was today.
No, nope.
Often stories would just disappear anonymously, so it's just like you would just have to say, okay, was it someone, kind of like we kind of had culture wars kind of like that with even the corona outbreak. We had scientists who had their own side of the story, and they were either being censored or they were incorrect, but they wanted to preach their nonsense. So it was just like same kind of deal here, where it's just like, okay, is someone leaking something as a national security power play, or is it
right? Yeah, is the denied truth the thing that's right in front of us the whole time?
And I mean, it seemed like the farthest we ever got was just, why are we going to war, and how there were always like 5 different stories.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Whose agenda are you going to follow?
Right. Yeah. Do you want to keep your job, or do you want to just go to somewhere else?
That's pretty much. Yeah. How much do you really care, like a secret agent?
It's chaotic, and basically there always kind of are war movies, even if they're only like in, say, a foreign country fighting a giant militia for like 20 minutes. But there's always wars. I think you can probably go back to just any era of history, and there will be stories of soldiers and knights and warriors, and it's just I don't know. They were the original heroes. So now we have people who have lip injections are our heroes, or right. The most talented person is the hero. It's like, well, what do they do? Like, okay, yeah, they can sing, super, but like, what do you do to the betterment of man? Anyway, that's my own hobby horse. I'll stay off of. I've noticed that too. It seems like Time magazine, I'm like, I don't even trust it anymore, since it's now working for the Koch brothers, a totally different kind of industry. But it is kind of wild though, how now you see even more often than not, where what parental company has owned whatever company, and now their total brand has changed up. And examining Treadstone, this, they're basically. So would you say they're more NSA, National Security Agency, or CIA? Because it's like they take CIA recruits, but then they kind of do their own thing, but they're not working for NSA. Yeah,
it seems like in the movie they tend to be under the CIA, is at least over them and running the program. But it's like an onion. There's layers there, so who really knows?
Nice contrast. Yeah.
It's the CIA, but it's within the CIA, and it's within that, and who knows? And it's all black book financials, and yeah.
Well, and so it wasn't known until many years later, especially listening to the commentary track. But when this first 2002 movie, came out, it was technically the second adaptation. There had been a 2-part Richard Chamberlain movie in the 80s that was decent, but yeah, this was definitely the second, maybe the third. No, definitely the second movie I ever saw Matt Damon in.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was already familiar with Good Will Hunting, and I knew of his other works, but I hadn't necessarily seen him yet, or he was in a bit part, or a voiceover.
Sure.
And, this was a surprise hit. They had fired the director, Doug Liman, because he was behind schedule, and were shooting reshoots. Damon was working extra hard to learn a bunch of different languages for the movie to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
You had Franca Potente, who had been from Run Lola Run, making her big, international splash here. And to add to that, I mean, it's coming out in April, which is typically,
Sure.
movies they don't have any faith in. They just drop them and make their money back on home video. But it made its money back. And it says a lot, because you look at the trailer and you're like, ooh, that looks almost as junky as some of the other loud MTV edited, movies.
Yeah, trailer editing is its own world.
And I just always heard of it. My uncle had seen it eons ago, and my father and I just saw him on cable, and we dug it. And we definitely saw Ultimatum in the theater. That was fun.
Yeah. I think I might have seen Identity the first time, maybe on a plane.
It was kind of word of mouth. It just it made enough money for him to make and decent reviews for him to keep making them. But at the time, it kind of was just manually just finding out about it.
Yeah, pretty much.
It didn't help that there were so many other similar movies out that same year, spy movies, Minority Report, other fugitive on the run kind of movies.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was funny. I was just, as you mentioned that, I was trying to think of other movies at the time that pop out, and I've seen Minority Report and some of the others, but this is the one that I can remember for whatever reason.
I mean, the rest are kind of very dark and grim, and this has enough grim but still fun escapism.
Yeah, they are, and the fact that it's not just sequel to me. It's not sequel for the sequel's sake. It's this story actually continues in an intriguing way, and not just a hey, let's make more money way.
Oh, 1,000%. And these definitely worked more for me because, very, at that time, martial arts were becoming a thing, and while I could enjoy movies like, say, Equilibrium, these worked more for me in kind of like the Blade and Matrix movies, where basically, okay, we got martial arts, so the ones who came to it for just that will be entertained enough, but the ones who do want a pretty cool, complex story beneath it, strap in, fasten your seatbelts to roller coaster. And I was already a fan of Tony Gilroy. He had done so many more movies than I realized he had done, like Devil's Advocate and this Special Forces movie with Russell Crowe called Proof of Life. And so, much like the other Men on a Mission movies and even the Rambos and Die Hards, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool in that, again, anyone can be an action star now, but at least they went the extra mile. I believe in what their persona that they're displaying on screen. Everything is able to make me suspend belief, and the soundtrack is good, and without being as intrusive as other ones where you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the martial arts stuff was interesting in contrast to those other movies, because it seems like the other movies, it was in the other movies, the martial arts were a feature. They were very, the Matrix would be one of the more obvious examples, but the fighting was very flashy, very big, very sort of Hong Kong era martial arts for the sake of fighting. And when I watch Bourne and I see him fight, obviously it's impressive, but it's not over the top. It's like, I really believe somebody would fight like that. That looks realistic to me, not choreographed and flashy.
Oh, totally. They use like a mixture of Krav Maga, and I think even in Mission Impossible 3 and Batman Begins, they said they used one method that Bourne used in one of his sequels, which was the Kinsei fighting method, which is a mixture of street combat.
Mm-hmm.
Like that move Tom Cruise even does in Part 3, where he has his elbows, to the side of his head, and he just whack.
Oh, yeah,
just,
yeah.
And
yep.
And then you mix in another just fist punch and knee to the groin.
Yeah, it seems like this is life or death fighting. This is not showing off fighting.
Oh, totally. And I see a lot of people kind of deny this, but I've seen various PR releases where Taken for Liam Neeson was inspired by this, and the producers were cited as saying for the James Bond franchise with Daniel Craig saying this is where they wanted to go with it because it was the thing at the time. But why do you think many nowadays will complain about how quickly edited the camera work in these movies are, and then no one really complains about those other ones? Do you think it's just everyone's just getting too old, or able to pay attention?
Yeah, it's certainly demographics. I mean, I imagine somebody who would be the age of my uncle, for example, or uncles who were Sean Connery era Bond people, like that fighting was very slow, very lots of space, not much fighting at all. Really, it was it was just a few chops and kicks and a punch. And then you've got today it's so rapid fire that it can be overwhelming. And maybe Bourne's old enough now, it's 20 years old, where it's it's been a generation. What do movies today look like in comparison speed wise and the same kind of fighting? And is my old man hat on?
Yeah, because I see similar methods used on even TV shows. Like we talked about MI5, which other people know as Spooks, and 24, and it's like for whatever reason I've never seen anyone really complain about the editing there, but
no,
he's become a punching bag, and yet everyone who's either a Bourne or a Commando fan seems to dig other franchises nowadays, like The Equalizer and John Wick. So I was going to bring up Wick. That also seems I haven't noticed anyone complain about that, but I don't see too much of a difference. You never know about the internet. It seems like it goes in waves. Like people are now doing it with cartoon movies. We're like, oh, I love Shrek. I'm like, you didn't love it at the time? Okay.
Right. Yeah. We will all find something to complain about. and I much prefer what did I enjoy? Because I was watching just even today to kind of get my brain back in the space. Ultimatum, at least the first 20-30 minutes of it, and I could sit here and watch all of these today if I didn't have to work. I just got sucked right back in. Like, this is just good movie watching.
1,000%. And Jeff Amada took over for the fight choreography in parts 2 and 3, and he was known for doing the fights in movies such as Fight Club, and I'm trying to remember what other key movie he did that was a big thing, but this is where I first heard of him, and is like, man, this dude's been in the industry forever. And I've seen even Dan Bradley is a big second unit director and stunt coordinator from these, and his career took off. He's done other movies like the Bond movies and Expendables. And he was always quoted as, I'm pretty much playing God here. I have an actor. I have all these cameras in his car, and I'm able to elicit an emotional and physical response from the audience. It's dynamite. But I can see where they the logic to it was. It was just the whole hey, just really just give them a bang for their buck.
Yeah, and he certainly did.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't seem gratuitous.
No,
it fits. It's part of the storytelling, and it doesn't bother me whatsoever.
Totally not. Okay, so Jeff Amata, he also did the fights in The Book of Eli, Iron Man 2, and Hannah. So a bunch of other lighter-hated blockbusters. And I'm with you. Like, compared to most of these other movies, I don't get driven up the wall, like where I'm like, what is it trying to say? Or it's too complex for its own good, where you lost me. What was going on here?
Yeah, that's definitely a taste in movie. Movies with lots of flashbacks can be confusing for some. I usually enjoy them. You brought up the Treadstone TV series, and it made it one season, and when it was on, I made it halfway through because I don't know if I was just tired at the time, but it was too much even for my brain. I mean, there was just a lot of flashbacks and forwards and who's this age and when, and
it didn't work doing it once a week. They should have done a 2 episodes at a time kind of deal.
Yeah. I think I might finish it just for the sake of finishing it. But at the time, I was like, I love Bourne and I love the world, but I'm lost or tired.
They had the leads. The lead star from War Horse, and I totally didn't recognize him, but they had all these other talented actors. They even had Michelle Forbes from Homicide and Star Trek.
Yeah.
One advisor guy, and Michael Gaston, who's this bald guy who just about everyone has seen play a government guy who may or may not be on the same page. And
right.
Yeah, I cheated. I waited 4 weeks and then started binging it and was hooked. And that's the way I do it with most shows, because I just know there's going to be a hook in. But I also know there's going to be other bullshit. And like I say, just don't make time for it if your calendar is packed.
Right. Yeah. And if you're just mentally, physically drained, it can be a lot to, great. I mean, I loved the actors. It was a well done show. I just didn't have it in me at the time. So I will give it a round 2.
And like Legacy, it acknowledged the whole universe without needing to put in stock footage. Because like I had seen other shows that, I mean, I even mentioned Minority Report. There was a really bad show based on the movie, and I wanted to get in. And
I remember that.
And midway through, I think I gave it like 2 more episodes, and each time I could barely make it through an episode. It was just bland, and I'm like, is this CSI? Is this
right?
House of Cards? What is it? It's just too much, and it's not doing well. Actually, in that case, it wasn't doing enough to stand out, despite a cast and decent visuals.
There were a lot of reboots happening. Like there was a Knight Rider reboot that NBC tried to do, and it was just like not okay. Let's just stop. Of course, there were a lot of writer strikes happening too, so it's a lot of turmoil in the entertainment industry.
It came really way too quickly there too, because like it seemed like. Just entertainment was just changing every single year to where it was hard to catch up with any of it. And it's going to be interesting to see more of this generation chime in on older material. Because they're looking at it now and it's like, again, you either had cable or you were still setting the tape to record until at least 04, 05. And then, and now records are back, but everyone still seems to not realize, you either want, it's just a preference. And I think the industry has slowly learned you got to just give people options and make a little money off everything instead of trying to put them into one corner.
There's no, that era ended with, I think, railroads and automobiles. You can't just put it all in one basket. You got to diversify.
Yeah. And there's some people who don't want to do either.
Nope. And then and they will go the way of like the JC Penney, like
right.
Totally off topic, but if like Sears and Penny's and those stores had done what Amazon did, if they just put their paper catalogs in a digital form, they would be thriving today. But nope,
that's a good. That really is a good contrast, because like this movie franchise was coming out when there was like like maybe 5 different kinds of franchises, and it survived pretty well, because like 2002, that was a big year for movies, and it just kept going big, even every year, unaffected, always a loyal audience. And like you say, JCPenney's, that's definitely the way to go if you don't want to do Target or Walmart or.
Yep, for sure. Yeah, these the whole, just the series, when I figured out, when I was watching the third one for the first time, the Supremacy, and I figured out that it was kind of like actually movie 2.5 when they overlapped with the timeline of the second movie. I was like, that was really cool. That was an interesting storytelling tool.
And it does things that even now it seems like you can only get away with in a spy movie franchise. I've seen some superhero movies do, but those are always nerd backlash. And it seems like spy movies, that's like the only one that I think you can get away with, where it's like, hey, the heroine has just been murdered. Now the main character is gonna go batshit and you know, in an organized way, mind you, and avenge her and find out the truth. And I think this is it. I was seeing so many other kind of spy movies here and there. I mean, there was even Syriana, and The Kingdom was another one that kind of implemented a lot of that same. I saw Peter Berg pretty much based his career on similar Bourne Identity kind of filming. It's like use steady cams with camcorders and profile a bunch of FBI guys going on a men on a mission, and then let the actors kind of throw in some ad libs to personify them, and you got yourself a crowd pleaser.
I think when like if you take a genre like spy movies, which is what we're talking about, and you know everybody tries to make their own version of a spy movie, but when you take that nugget and you put a twist on it, I think that's when you get something like the Bourne Identity, because it's a spy movie, but you throw in amnesia and you have a whole new thing to explore. Or
and you buy into it versus there were so many others that were like Nikita knockoffs, and you're just like, oh, good Lord.
Yeah.
How does this amnesia
I think
work?
Taken was the same thing. Like, you know, he's got the certain set of skills, but the twist is somebody kidnaps his kid. That was a new and unique twist on the idea.
And another, again, isn't it funny? That was, again, another surprise. I saw that on the internet a year before it came out in the States. And my grandmother wanted to see it. She's like, I love Liam Neeson. Schindler's List. You know, I'm like, okay.
No.
not that kind of movie, but okay. She loved it, but I'm just saying it was interesting how this is like this, and Neeson thought that movie just wasn't going to be spectacular. It was no different than any Harrison Ford or Jodie Foster movie, but somehow it was different enough, and it was a mega hit. And he's at the 5th stage of his career, and that's what he's been doing the last 2 decades. But this is interesting how it too kind of has kind of the grit of kind of 70s kind of movies, and it has something for everyone. So if even someone who wants something harder, kind of like something junky like a Steven Seagal movie or a violent Charles Bronson movie, there's a little something here for you.
It definitely does. I liked all 5 movies. I liked the Jeremy Renner movie a lot on its own. It was just a nice little.
Why do you think? I mean, they gave it so much warning in the poster and the trailers. It's like the system's been shut down. They even had the other supporting cast coming back, and it seemed like it caught on after the fact. But I caught it on DVD. I bought it when it first arrived, and I sat down. My father saw I was watching it. He sat down with me. He's like, "Oh, no way, I'm not watching this." It just has a way of drawing you in because it's a thinking man kind of movie, and
it is. It's like, how are they going to tie it in to the rest of the world? And
another shot at playing the Aaron Cross character, Mr. Renner, because
I think so.
There's a recurring joke in fandoms on how he's part of Mission Impossible and the Avengers, and they don't really use him. He doesn't do anything.
Right. He
did something.
Mission Impossible, Avengers, Bourne. He's in a lot of places, and I think he's underutilized.
Totally.
I could see more of that for sure.
And kind of like Matt Damon, he is. What was he doing before this? He was doing a lot of tactical Western and war type movies, and it seems like, I don't know, it's like the right people get it, but it's not embraced by as many people. And Matt Damon, come on, he was Private Ryan, where you hate him,
right?
He's a coward, and then you see him avenging himself, trying to be a trooper and lead his platoon. And in between the Bournes, he did a cool movie with that same crew called Green Zone. And again, I took relatives to see it, and they dug it because it was a thinking man's movie. And they're like, hey, even if someone didn't see Saddam, is like, and other people fleeing the country, well, it still has some interesting parallels. And it just came out at a bad time where everyone was getting tired of war movies because we were still, at war in the Middle East. And Renner's kind of the same guy.
Need a break.
He came out with Wind River. He came out with, 28 Weeks Later and all these other movies where he's often a very invaluable sniper or cowboy. And I'm just, when I saw him in this movie, I was like, I will totally pay to see him do another kind of spy movie or cameo as Aaron Cross again. But
he's I'll respect to him. He's a great actor, but he's almost a character actor. Not quite. I wouldn't pigeonhole him like that, but he's very
I
close.
know what you mean. But that's just it. Like, those are my favorite kind, where it's like, regardless of whether they can carry a movie, they're just in the acting zone. They're not here to bullshit around and joke about who slept with who or who has a great better trailer. Is like
Yep. And he's funny. I just think when he wants to be funny, he's really funny.
He does get like maybe one or two dry moments in here, especially when he's in the cabin with the other operative who's basically he thinks he's here as a spotter, but he suspects him, and we the audience get the feeling it's like he's clearly here to cap him in the head when this mission is done.
Yeah. Wasn't that Oscar Isaac? Wasn't that the spotter?
I think that's what it was. Oh my God, that was. Small world, man.
Yeah. Oh, another small world connection. I was in Supremacy. It was the guy who played Zemo from the Adventure movies was the brother of Bourne's dead girlfriend.
My sister was going back through all of his movies and was very blown away by that. And I'm backtracking on that a bit. Totally. In Legacy, there's a lot of supporting text. Corey Stoll, of all people, who was later on a bunch of other bigger movies and shows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Donna Murphy, who's this other supporting actress who's been in a bunch of material. I definitely recognize her from one of the Star Trek movies. But yeah, on Supremacy, Brule is like a key contact, and Carl Urban is the main assassin there. And
that's right, Carl.
That was a big year for him. He had just.
I was like, "That's Boromir. What's he doing?"
Oh no!
Totally threw me.
Oh, actually, I think it's Eomer. Close.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, just on me. Similar actor, but no, it's all good. But
yeah, I know that's right.
It was interesting because you've been in Lord of the Rings, you've been in all these other bit part movies, and then you do this Chronicles of Riddick, and then you do Doom of all movies, and then the Star Treks. Is like everyone wants to put Carl Urban in their movie.
He's a great chameleon.
Great chameleon. And he has a few. He kind of injects a bit of humor in that assassin role, where he's like, to him.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is as simple as killing flies. He loves it. He kind of gets off on it without unemotive kind of way, but he still kind of smirks. It's weird, but it's very well done.
Yeah, there's a little snark to it. Like here we go again. All right, let's fight.
Oh, another witness got away. And I love how the cat and mouse in these with all the assassins is very well done. This was Ultimatum was my introduction to martial artist Joey Ansa, who's gone on to bigger productions, also doing a lot of fighting choreography. And he's the one who gets, by the lip in the iconic fight scene in the apartment. And Edgar Ramirez is the other assassin who's tracking him at the airport. And another one just plays Carlos the Jackal, and all these other international figures can do all kinds of accents. He's another chameleon. And I think that's just what they were going. They're going for all of these just international actors as opposed to just whoever's in New York or LA at the time. I was already kind of a fan of some of the other supporting actors like Joan Allen, Chris Cooper, and Julia Stiles. But it was like, this made me now. That was like the second stage of their career, and that just gave it the extra geekdom factor for me.
Yeah. Something you said made me think about this. With the storytelling, it's not like in Bond where Bond is fighting. There's almost a sense of revenge and anger, and you can see it in his face and the way he fights. Whereas in these movies, like when Carl Urban's fighting, or any of the bad guys, and Bourne, like it's emotionless. It's like this is what I do. This is what has to happen. I'm not even going to think about it, and it's done. There's no like, haha, I've killed you, and
1,000%
remorse. Like in Supremacy, when they order the assassin to go to the train station and shoot two people, it's like he's just sitting in his flat and he gets a text and, oh, okay, I'm gonna grab my bag and go kill two people. No big deal.
Oh yeah, that, and it was just
it's just throughout. It's
it was
that
a great
same
transition. And this was probably the first movie I saw Clive Owen in.
Oh yeah,
the assassin at the barn, and it was just so funny too. The same kind of thing. He gets that text. He's I've seen the Rip Tracks version of the first movie, and they do a funny line saying, "Stop pestering me, kid. Gotta go get and kill."
Yeah, when Bourne goes and kills him, and he picks him up, and he's like, "Do you get the headaches?" It's like there's just this, this is here we are. There's no.
He's interesting because
it's deep, but it's also on the surface. I don't have a word for it.
It's very atmospheric, yes, and he has a great line where he's like, "Why do I feel so cold?"
Right.
And he's just a professor at the daytime, and that's his actual code name. And at night, he does contract killings to pay the rent.
Yeah. He's in class and he gets a text. Okay, read chapter 7. I have to step out for a minute.
And that's some grim stuff, but they do a good job with just subtexting the dialogue, just because Tony Gilroy did so many rewrites and then pretty much made the franchise his own after movie 1. I love it. He and Bourne and his girlfriend are both at that, just hiding out at that one farm. And then I just love it. The couple's like, "Oh, the dog's not coming in."
Right. Like, yeah, where's the dog?
Connect the dots, guy. Yeah, you know what's going on here. It's like, any possible alerting, has been compromised. And I just, who would have guessed it? He just gets all tactical, and he's like, "Okay, you guys stay in here.
He just switches modes.
Right back. You got a shotgun? Perfect. I'm gonna aim it at the nearest, container that I can set off and cause an explosion as a distraction. And I will, while he's distracted by that explosion, I'll sneak into the forest and beat him up."
Yeah, and I think I said at the top, I really do wonder, can you program a human to be that way? To be like, when he sits down with his girlfriend at the diner, and he's like, I know that the closest exit is here, and the car is this many steps away, and I can run from here to there in so many seconds. It's just all this processing happening in a person's mind. Like, can you really program a person to do that and to be like that? That would be crazy.
Somehow, I mean, they did similar movies like this as well, like the Hunted with Benicio del Toro. But yeah, they it's like they basically they do a good job of reminding the audience. It's like he's able to kind of somehow get everyone to quiet down, and like he just goes up to them. It's like somehow he gains their trust.
Yeah,
he's just the only one not panicking, and so it's like he's a magnet. Everybody
and that's that emotionless, just like I'm in program mode, just working, and he just knows. He knows what's up.
Staging of it all, because for what and if you don't have that, then it just would have been still. It just would have been a little too junky.
Yeah, for sure.
And
what is it about action, these spy heroes and the initials J and B? Jason Bourne.
Yeah.
James Bond,
Jonas Blaine on the unit, and Jack
Bauer. I just, it's not new, but it's funny to me. Like, okay,
yeah.
I think John Wick breaks the mold. Maybe, I'm not sure.
There you go. Unless it's JBW, I don't know.
His middle name, Bolshevik or something.
Jackass bastard. That's what I want a spy to be named. Is like, what's your name? Jackass bastard.
It's Fat Bastard's cousin.
JB, get it? But it is wild, and I mean the writers knew what they were doing.
yeah,
and it's interesting. So it's like he was like a more recently kind of served like post Gulf War for this version, which I mean you had to do, otherwise, in the books he's kind of more of a Vietnam SEAL.
Sure.
But the SEAL thing really did come into play, because then you can buy it even more. How like the Terminator, he can be just without food for 48 hours, and just always watches 6. And I mean, you buy it for when he crashes into the water, he can hold his breath, but his girlfriend can't. And that's
right.
Why he's so pained, because he's like, I had every chance in the world and she didn't have a single chance.
Yeah. And you find out more in each movie about his background, which is I think the point of the movies is to learn about Bourne. And in the last one, you find out about his dad, and it's just there's a lot to still dig into there.
1,000%. You think it was just David Webb, and it's like that's just even a segment of that, and how you have to program yourself to be so emotionless. What was your first kill? It was just another soldier, just like himself, just bound up, and
Yeah, showing those flashbacks is like, kill this guy. And it's like, I can't. I don't want to. There's like, that's the emotion is still there. The human decency is still there. It gets programmed out of him.
Totally. We thought Chris Cooper was the big bad. He was just following orders. Brian Cox was the main big bad. And so there you go. He's both in charge of a family on Secession, created Wolverine, and oversaw the Bourne project. So.
He's got a niche.
He's got a niche. He's an evil bastard, and we like him. And it's just so wild too how he just picks on some of the other techs, and there's even some other bit parts from other future A-listers. Walton Goggins is one of the techs in one scene in movie one.
Right.
Yeah. This was my introduction to Gabriel Macht, and I would recognize him. He's the other tech who gets shanked by Cox in the restroom in movie 2. But I was like, I would always see him on occasional guest spots. I'm like, oh, he has such dreamy eyes. He should have definitely.
Yeah, these people are like, wait a minute, I know that person. He
should have had a bigger career, but that's okay. He's still working.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh man, but it's wild because, like you say, these movies are just so magnetic and just nuanced with the suspense that, again, they really are fun. I would always notice something on every viewing, and often when I get to the third or fifth viewing of a movie, I'm now paying more attention to the music cues. And
I love the soundtracks. I'm big into movie soundtracks, and I
will confess,
it was so good.
These are the first movie soundtracks I bought. John Powell, You Are My Hero.
Wow. Yeah.
And my mother, one day when she was working at the Star Telegram, she saw an interview with him, and it inspired me even more. Just how many composers really try to get reward in scoring the emotion and frills on screen. And he had done like Shrek movies and a few other big movies and a Fast and Furious movie. But I think he confessed that he was the proudest of his Bourne Identity scores because they had everything he wanted as a composer to reflect on screen. For me, I think every movie that's released on disc or digital should have like a soundtrack only option. Some movies have that, a handful I've seen. But, I like watching it with just the music. Oh, I would even go to cheat code sites back in the day, and I would see which ones had Easter eggs where you just put the movie into your CD player and it'll actually play the soundtrack isolated from the movie. Even better. And I guess I don't know if they got in trouble for doing that or just didn't have the time to put in as many Easter eggs as they do.
Yeah, it's probably a licensing thing, or who knows.
Yeah. I think the copyright software didn't help either.
No, it did not.
Region 1, 2.
Yeah, but the Moby song at the end, I think it fits.
Oh, baby. That's so true. It all works. Every once in a while, a movie will use that exact Extreme Ways thing, and my father will actually say it sounds like the Bourne score. I'm like, because it is.
Because it is.
Because he didn't just take the song, he remixed it to incorporate it into the movie score.
Yeah, and it works. It's just, I love it when it works.
Oh man, it makes me want to get up and work out.
Makes me want to think about getting up and working.
Oh, that's what I mean. I'm not going to work out.
I could work out to that someday.
Check back in 30 years when I've gained a little weight.
Yeah.
So why do people pile on the last movie they did? Was it just the film style? Was it just too much after the fact? What's the deal?
Well, I'm not one who piled on it, but
I'm trying to figure it out, and I just don't get it. I mean, literally everything I need to know, where he is now, and again, him and Nikki settled down, and she got killed. It was just like simple, and she had a cool line, which is like, "I don't think we're safe."
Yeah. Like, did they pile on because it was just like one more movie, or because they just thought they were doing it for the money, or
a little bit of that. I even saw
people think it was a bad movie.
That, and I saw critics even say, "Oh, why is it so shaky?" I'm like, you clearly have not seen the last few movies, but
yeah,
I don't know. I grew up watching The Closer and NYPD Blue, and The Shield, so I'm used to the whole steady cam and handheld.
Yeah,
I kind of like it because it gives me a voyeuristic aspect where I'm like, oh, I'm seeing a private conversation that only the audience has access to.
Right.
And I dug how Tommy Lee Jones wasn't doing the 5th iteration of his fugitive character.
Nope, it wasn't a fugitive. It wasn't Men in Black. It was.
He
totally
even gets
different.
a hit on Bourne. He's like I think he says at the start he has like a military background, and he's like, I saw your ass coming in here the minute you walked in.
That's right. Yeah.
So he gets a shot at him on the shoulder, and you're like, it's like, yeah, okay, so Bourne was going to kill you anyway, but he's going to remember this gunshot.
Yep, for sure. Yeah. No, I think it's a good standalone movie. It fits in the storyline. I thought it was really good. I also really appreciate how they don't overuse spy tech. Like, it's not about the gadgets.
That's so true, because I would see people call it a tech thriller. I'm like, it's as tech thriller as, say, maybe Enemy of the State, but that's it. Like,
right.
You're not worried about what model of Samsung it is. This isn't, in movie
right.
advertising.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, if it is, the only thing I might consider over the top is when we found Bourne, and it shows like, this office talking to that office and computers talking to each other. And there's it's kind of a techno transition storytelling device, but it's not like it's over the top. I need this phone with this model, and I'm going to do these things with it.
It's not robotic to the point where you're just like, this is such an emotionless movie. Yeah. And
right.
I would see just about every other, even a low budget spy show definitely would take a cue from it. Is like, let's have some electronic music score, and let's have just computer techs who have an uneasy feeling about them.
Yeah.
Let's have a geek who you can actually buy is working for the giant spy entity. And hell, Tom Berenger was even doing a bunch of movies. It's a lowbrow name, Sniper, but he was doing that
right.
exact same kind of thing where he was kind of, taking a cue from this and Mission Impossible, and even the Mark Wahlberg movie Shooter, which was based on a well-known spy book series, it kind of took a cue from this. It's just like, if it's not Rambo, you're definitely taking a cue from Bourne, in that you have a guy who talks fast and goes and does amazing things, and the motivation is all there to where you can sit back and enjoy the spectacle without feeling like it's too by the numbers. But
there's not somebody like who has like the whole expositional 30-second super fast talk rant of rattling it all off. It's just it's told in the action. Even in the final villain, when they're saying something, it's barely even a full speech. It's basically more like, what did you think was going to happen? And just a well-acted argument. And because, like you say, so many other people, there will be too many cooks in the kitchen to where you're like, okay, that's a little lame or too much. But Bourne did it pretty well. Gilroy just sizzles with dialogue writing. He wasn't able to return to the last movie due to working on reshoots for Rogue One. But fun fact, so he and Matt Damon respected each other, even worked on a bunch of other movies together, and he wanted to kill Bourne off in Ultimatum. And oh, wow.
Matt Damon completely disagreed. And kind of like World War Z, where Brad Pitt and the director Mark Forster wouldn't talk to each other, they kind of did that, where they're like, okay, we politely disagree. We like each other's work. We will always be there opening day to support them. It's just, we're too close to this. And so Matt Damon, I think he's credited as like co-producer. He pitched in and hired Scott Z. Burns, who he would later work with again on Steven Soderbergh's Contagion movie. He had him pitch up the ending and make it even more twisted, where it's like he has to fake his death. And
so they wanted to kill him in Supremacy?
Ultimatum, when he jumps off the roof.
Yeah, okay.
And
yeah.
And so they just had to just politely say, okay, I'm taking this in a different direction.
Is that why the Renner movie was next?
Yes, and that was interesting, because I think he even hired his editor brother John Gilroy to edit it, and Dan Gilroy was one of the writers on that, who again had long been, has also done some good work like Nightcrawler with and it's just so funny. These guys come from the whole family in Hollywood lives, eats, and breathes film. One of them's a big editor, and the other two direct and write movies. And that was pretty much, I think, Dan's foot in the door, because he had done a bunch of other small time thrillers, but he was mainly just known for being associated with the unmade Superman Lives movie and never came out.
Yeah. Oh man.
That's a great documentary.
I enjoyed in the last movie. My brain's still working through the last movie. How the in the earlier movies, he's got the woman at the CIA who's actually like wants to help him.
Alicia Vikander. That was a good twist.
Find out who so like she's on his side, as is Nikki, but she's not as main.
Yeah,
she's in the
going
last
along with it, but she's trying to understand him as opposed to I'm going.
She wants to catch him. She wants to find him. She wants to do her job, and then she finds out that the CIA has been real hinky about all this, and there's something dirty going on, and she wants to do what her job is, which is to find the truth and expose it. As opposed to the last movie where you've got Tommy Lee Jones, who's obviously one of the bad guys, but then you have the woman who's an agent who's very ambitious, and you're not quite sure where she's at or where does she want to help Bourne, but she's just after herself. She doesn't really care what happens to him. She just wants to further her own career. So Bourne was pretty much all alone because they killed off Nikki.
Yes, and
that was an interesting contrast, I thought.
1,000%. And Otto Asando, who, let's be honest, everyone has seen. You've seen him on everything. Chicago Med, Blood Diamond. He's the African agent. I love how he pretty much is like, don't care, shoot on sight, overriding every order. And Riz Ahmad was interesting as like the geek who knows too much. And I love how they had that same element in there, just like, who was the guy, the journalist in Ultimatum?
Oh, gosh, I just watched. I can't remember. I don't know his name.
Considine. That's who it was. Yeah. And I mean, it's interesting here how like in Ultimatum Legacy you have Scott Glenn, who's always a reliable veteran actor.
Oh, I love Scott Glenn. I love him so much.
When I saw him, I geeked out in the theaters.
Yeah.
But it was funny how, in those earlier movies, he is basically just like, well, you know what you got to do unless you want me to be the talking piece for our upcoming scandal, darling. And Lee Jones is pretty much in that same minefield, but they do little small things to where it doesn't feel repetitive. And like, I love how, once again, Vincent Castle, who again, beloved, I love the French European, connection. I'm from Mesrine, Black Swan, Eastern Promises, La Haine, Crimson Rivers. And, here he just plays a guy just simply named the Acid. And I love how he fucks up his whole world when he's at the Las Vegas convention. But much like any other assassin, pretty much they're often trying to kill him while the other guys are trying to kill him. But he's interesting in that he's pretty much trying to instigate it, just make a bunch of stuff and then somehow leave a thumbprint that incriminates Bourne. So it's like, man, you are working overtime. You literally have no other life.
Yep. Yeah, they want to burn him bad.
They really do. And I love how he like shoves, I think, some of the other CIA agents out of the way. Is like, nope, my kill. My kill.
Yeah. He's definitely got a personal thing invested in it, but one of the only ones.
1,000%, man. Oh man. And like you say, it's sometimes you don't always recognize some of these other actors, but then you see it on their demo reel or on their credits and they got screenshots and you're like, oh, that guy. Oh man, I've seen him more than I realized. Oh, that guy on Law and Order, that guy on Criminal Minds. and from this
IMDb,
other beloved movie. Yeah, IMDb.
It's a great thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Where would we be without it? I doubt anyone would have as big a career without it. Oh man. Good stuff. I kind of croak up even when I see a late night show doing research and you're like, yeah, but they didn't even mention the best part.
Right.
The one cult movie everyone else also talks about.
Yeah.
Or they're
talking
name
about
that
it
one.
now.
They're talking about it now, but it's 30 years after the fact. Come on. And I feel in a way though, many of these actors, supporting actors, this pretty much made their careers. Corey Johnson's the other bald tech in the sequels, and I see him pretty much doing a lot of that same kind of thing where he's like a Joint Chiefs guy and giving advice, Mr. President. And probably the single best, so hot take, my single favorite performance in this whole saga, it's got to be either Joan Allen or David Strathairn.
Give me a context.
Okay, Vosen, the guy with the glasses,
Yep.
and Ultimate and the sequels. It just I've seen him. Later on, he was on that show Alphas, which was kind of a cool mixture of an original superhero and a spy elements. And I'm like, that's just it. He totally got this. He got to be even. Had he not done Bourne, I don't think he would have gotten that opportunity. Then he was recently on The Expanse, and he was amazing. He was flat out having to do what all the good Star Trek actors do, where you make up your own fictional alien language and then make it, be second nature, as if it's a real thing. And like that, he is just the best at being either nutty characters or people too smart for their own good. And I love how he's just so manipulative here in this role because. He's constantly insecure about Joan Allen's, Pam Landy.
Oh gosh,
what is she doing? He doesn't try. He's willing to kill Parsons if he has to because he's like, yeah, she's working with the enemy, and I don't care what.
Oh yeah,
because
the moment he realizes it's Bourne in that London train station, he's like, okay, close the doors. We're gonna shoot him. He's just like, this is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, he totally does. And half the time he'll even look at the text and say, are you questioning whether this is legal or not? You're at the CIA. Get out.
Dude's got some chops.
He's got some chops. He's just like, well, you're either going to kill him or you're not.
Yeah. Engage the asset. Like,
engage the asset.
Put him in play. Oh, so good.
So good. Totally recommend these. If you get them, you don't. But there's plenty to chomp on for most. Most people who I've seen who just want any kind of action have often found these very rewarding. I will even shout out to my pal Mike Cruz. Been forever, brother. We got to get back together sometime. But I remember when he was pursuing some acting and just had some free time, he was just going to the cinemas like once a week, and he went to the last Jason Bourne they did. And he's like, I was hooked. Never seen a single one of these before. Now I got to go for the whole library again. So I do think there is a bit of universal aspect to it. Not always. My pal Nate saw the last one and Legacy, and he hadn't seen the other ones, and he didn't like either one. I'm like, well, in all fairness, there's a bit of elements to the other ones. I don't ever understand watching movies out of order, but there's some people who have seen Terminator 2 and not seen Terminator 1, so I don't know.
Yeah, they're a great rainy afternoon binge-worthy series for sure.
It would be interesting to watch this on a rain because rainy is usually what we mention for movies we don't really care about, but I could be trapped anywhere and I would want to watch these movies. I could just watch some inspirational movie. And I'm
in the Pacific Northwest, so that's kind of the western side, so it's pretty normal to have a rainy day. So that's any movie is a good on a rainy day.
I gotcha. Okay. Man, yeah. It'd be funny if everyone did more lists like that. It's like movies that are mandatory must watch during the day.
Yeah. What movies would you watch if it's 101 outside and you want to be in AC inside? Like what's a good hot day movie? Doesn't sound as fun. Doesn't sound as cool.
I guess not. It's something about it being forbidden.
Yeah, that's right. I'm skipping work. I'm skipping school. I'm going to watch Bourne all day.
Yeah, playing hooky.
Oh, man. Are they going to make more? Have you heard anything? Have you read anything?
I think this is it for the franchise, unfortunately, but I at least like that Universal was able to kind of hustle it out with both that and their Purge franchise and say, okay, take it to TV and then do one more movie. And then I think it was just someone in charge of programming must have changed hands. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, with so much content more and more available, it's harder to compete. It's like you almost want to make it for the fans, and that's the only real reason to make it. Otherwise, it's not like it's too much. It's cost too much to try to make money against everything else because there's so much more out there now.
Give them a little more of what they want, and then use that money to come up with something new.
Yeah. Yep. Which is what I felt like Matrix 4 was like, but we won't go there.
Matrix what?
the meta commenting movie.
Oh God.
So okay. Yeah, let's not end on Matrix. Let's end on Bourne.
Let's end on Bourne. Extreme Ways. We did it. We went through the whole saga. So thanks a million for being on here. Where can people find you on the interwebs?
They can find me. My name is spelled Corby, Corby, and it's Stephens with a PH. CorbyStephens.com. The social channels, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are all at Corby Stephens. Doing a little bit of revamping to kind of bring some of my more recent projects into focus, but those are the places to go.
Totally. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you are welcome back.
Thank you very much. Anytime. Yeah. If you want to ever talk Star Trek, if you haven't already, I'm down with that too.
1,000%. We're going to try and talk the animated shows that are out now, if that's okay.
Okay. Yep.
Well, we'll do a revisitation on some of the newer shows, but yeah, we'll do a ranking of the whole franchise.
Yeah, I'll my teaser will be, I argue that the motion picture is the most Star Trek-like movie out there.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's my, for the haters out there. Deal with that.
It's fine. I'm gonna revisit it all on the Blu-rays that are out by Mayhem. We call ourselves the Spy Channel.
Spy. The Spy. Don't tune in because you can't know who we are because we're spies.
Wanted.
Follow us on the web on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. The podcast is available on Podbean, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor, Apple, and anywhere else podcasts are available. Feel free to review our show and leave comments on any of those sites. Thanks a million for listening.
It's a jacked up